Thank you, Senator Whitehouse. One final bit of questioning for you, Mr. Arkush. Define for this committee what homicide means.
Oh, sure. So homicide is a legal term that refers to, it's essentially a blanket term for any form of unlawful killing. And an unlawful killing is causing death with a culpable mental state. Causing a death means substantially contributing to it or accelerating it. And a culpable mental state could be negligence, knowledge, recklessness.
So you wrote an article in 2023 entitled, quote, Climate Homicide, Prosecuting Big Oil for Climate Deaths. In that article, you argue that oil and gas executives could be prosecuted, not just sued, but criminally prosecuted for homicide, for murder, based on climate change. Is that right?
Welcome back to American Stronghold, the channel where we speak truth to power, defend common sense, and push back against the dangerous ideologies threatening the American way of life. If you're tired of the radical left pushing absurd legal theories and weaponizing the justice system against working Americans, you're in the right place. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our deep dives into politics, law, and liberty. Now, let's get into it. A recent Senate hearing exposed just how far left-wing academic elites are willing to go to push their climate agenda. A law professor, Mr. Arkush, appeared before the committee to defend a stunning legal theory that oil and gas executives, people responsible for powering our economy and creating jobs, should be prosecuted for homicide over climate change. You heard that right. Not just sued, not fined, prosecuted. For homicide, for doing their jobs that support over 8.5 million Americans.
That's right. I mean, I would be careful with the wording because murder, again, is a technical term. And definitely we're not arguing that they could be prosecuted for first-degree murder. That's killing with, intent.
But you want to put them in prison for homicide, lock them up, treat them as criminals, put them in. Murderers people who commit homicide get put in jails with violent criminals. And your position is this is a reasonable and rational thing that we should put the people leading the energy companies in America, producing 8.5 million jobs, we should arrest them and throw them in jail. Is that correct?
It could be the case that some executives should be prosecuted in that way. Of course, you can't put a corporation in jail, so there are other remedies in that situation.
But you can put human beings in jail, and presumably you'd put the corporate officers in jail.
Yes, you can.
You'd prosecute them for murder. So don't let there be any ambiguity. And by the way, Senator Whitehouse was really eager to make clear that you're the minority witness. You're the witness he wanted. He was eager to introduce you. I'm going to go on the record as saying that is a moonbeam wacky theory that you want to prosecute people creating jobs and producing energy for murder. Let me ask you, Mr. Arkush, how did you get to the Capitol today?
So here's what I want to tell you.
How did you get to the Capitol today?
I took an Uber.
You took an Uber.
Yep.
Now, was that in an automobile?
Yes.
Did that automobile have gasoline in it?
Yes. This is very, very cute. I see where this is going.
So I'm glad you think it's cute. Under your theory, you emitted carbon emissions.
Yep.
Should you be arrested in this room right now and prosecuted for murder?
No.
Why?
That's not what the law holds.
So tell me why, because you're willing to say the guy who sold you the gasoline should be prosecuted for murder. You're the one that benefited from it. Couldn't you have ridden a bicycle or maybe like some fairy dust to get here?
The guy who sold the gas and 50 years ago knew that it was going to cause globally catastrophic damage that would cause problems for humanity.
But you have exquisite knowledge of this. You were saying you were an expert. So on mens rea,
I'm not done.
You have a level of culpability because you claim that the act of getting in that car was violence, it was murder, that you should be locked up. Why do you get to violate these principles in a way that you just want to lock up the person who sold you the gas but not the beneficiary of it?
That's your claim, not mine, because to be liable, there are a bunch of reasons, but one of them is you have to substantially contribute to the harm, to the death.
Okay,
and
so
how
many car rides is substantially? Is it one? Is it two? Is it 10? How many?
A single individual couldn't possibly contribute enough. The point is...
Well, what about if, say, you're a Democrat politician who
do you want me to answer
What about if you're a Democrat politician who flies private jets?
It would be helpful if you're asking the questions. Doesn't he get to answer them?
He gets to answer them in my time, just like he gets to answer them in your time when you are asking them.
Seems like I don't get to answer.
So what about Democrat politicians who fly private planes all the time? People like John Kerry, who say, for someone like me, a private jet is the only reasonable way to travel. John Kerry has the climate footprint of a small town in Tennessee. Would you prosecute John Kerry for murder?
So depending on how you calculate it, U.S. fossil fuel or the oil majors, private oil majors, are responsible for around half of global emissions.
My question was, would you prosecute John Kerry for murder?
Obviously not. No.
Okay, so Democrat politicians are exempted.
There is no individual.
Democrat activists are exempted.
I'm not going after people for carbon footprints. The whole thing is actually.
Well, why not, though? Under your principle, carbon is killing us. You claim it is homicide. By the way, this is a whack job theory. You teach in law school. If one of your law students wrote this on an exam, any law professor.
The hearing was led by Senator Whitehouse, who proudly introduced this so-called expert. And what we heard was absolutely shocking. Arush essentially argued that energy producers, those making sure our homes are heated, our trucks are moving, our planes are flying, should be locked up like violent criminals. Because in his view, they substantially contributed to deaths by selling fossil fuels. This isn't satire, folks. This is real. This is being said under oath in the United States Senate. And they're teaching this garbage in law schools across the country. Let's unpack this. Homicide, in legal terms, is the unlawful killing of another human being with a culpable mental state, like negligence, recklessness, or intent. So now, according to Mr. Arush, producing and selling gasoline is an act of recklessness worthy of criminal charges? Let me ask you, does that make sense? Because by that logic, we're all guilty. You drive a car. You're guilty. You fly on a plane to see your family? Guilty. You turn on the heat in the winter so your kids don't freeze? Guilty. The professor himself admitted that he took an Uber to the Capitol. It ran on gas. That means, by his own logic, he contributed to so-called climate deaths. Yet, when Senator Cruz challenged him on that, Arush claimed he shouldn't be held accountable because individual actions don't meet the legal threshold. Only the corporations do. How convenient. He enjoys the benefits of modern energy, but wants to imprison the people who made it possible. That's the hypocrisy we're dealing with. And it gets worse. Senator Cruz brought up John Kerry, the Biden administration's climate czar, who famously said that a private jet is the only reasonable way to travel for someone like him. John Kerry, one man, has a carbon footprint the size of a small town. Did Mr. Arush call for his prosecution? Of course not. Apparently, if you're a liberal elite or Democrat politician, you're exempt. No, they're not targeting individuals. They're targeting the people who create jobs, who build, who produce. It's class warfare disguised as environmental justice. They're not going after John Kerry's jet fuel. They're going after the backbone of America's economy, our energy sector. That's not science. That's ideology. That's selective prosecution. Make no mistake, this is part of a bigger agenda. They want to demonize fossil fuels, shut down the energy industry, and replace it with so-called green alternatives that don't yet have the capacity to power a modern economy. Wind and solar are fine supplements, but they can't replace oil and gas. Not now. Not in 10 years. Maybe not ever at the scale we need. So what do? They criminalize the opposition. They try to scare executives out of doing their jobs. They want to throw CEOs in jail for climate change, but won't prosecute criminals looting stores in broad daylight. Let that sink in. The Biden administration has already weaponized the IRS, the FBI, and the DOJ against parents, conservatives, and political opponents. Now, they want to add the energy industry to the hit list. This theory of climate homicide is just the latest tool in their war on prosperity and personal responsibility. Where does this end? Today, it's oil executives. Tomorrow, it's farmers using diesel. Next, it's truckers. Then it's you. If they can criminalize selling gasoline, they can criminalize anything. Heating your home, eating beef, owning a gas stove. It's not about the planet, it's about control. You give the government the power to imprison people over carbon emissions, and you're opening the door to a surveillance state where every aspect of your life is monitored and regulated. This isn't just about oil. This is about freedom. At American Stronghold, we believe in energy independence. We believe in jobs. We believe that America became the greatest country on earth because we embraced innovation, not because we punished it. And we believe that prosecuting people for producing the fuel that powers this country is not just insane, it's un-American. So what can you do? Stay informed, push back, vote for leaders who support common sense, and demand that law schools and institutions stop spreading this kind of radical garbage. Because if we don't draw the line here, the next generation of prosecutors might take this theory and run with it. And that's the real danger. Thank you for watching American Stronghold. If you appreciate content like this that cuts through the noise and defends what's right, smash that like button, subscribe, and share this video with friends and family. This channel is about standing up for America, for our Constitution, for our energy, for our freedom. Stay strong, stay free, and as always, God bless America.